Did you know that King Tut died suddenly at the age of just 19? And this was back in 1323 BC. This is much, much before modern medicine. And to add to that, he died without having any heirs. This led to the end of the 18th dynasty and a power struggle among the Egyptian elite. But what killed him? Well, let's find out in today's episode only here. Hi, it's me. And let's look at some of the most insane medical conditions that have ever existed. First, let's take a look at who Tutankhamun was. Tutankhamun was an Egyptian pharaoh. He ruled from around 1332 BC until his death in 1323 BC. His father was Akhenaten, the king who moved the empire's capital city to Amarna and introduced monotheism. His mother was probably Kia, one of the 5 great wives of King Akhenaten. He ruled over Egypt for about 9 years and built a number of temples and monuments during his reign. In fact, according to reports, he erected a memorial at Karnak Temple and a statue at Abu Simbel. Moreover, he also returned the capital city back to Thebes after his father had changed it to Amarna. So when Tutankhamun died, the royal court moved back to Thebes, and his advisors and officials started looking for someone to blame for his sudden death. They eventually landed on Queen Isis, his stepmother, and accused her of killing him. Queen Isis was the 6th wife of King Akhenaten and the mother of Smenkhare, Nefertiti's daughter. She gave birth to Tutankhamun's successor, Pharaoh I, who would later rule over Egypt for 4 years. After Tutankhamun's death, there were rumors spreading all over the kingdom that it was Queen Isis who put a curse on Tutankhamun. Some even say that she had poisoned the young king so that her son could take the throne. However, these are only myths and legends. There is no concrete evidence to prove whether or not they are true. Tutankhamun's mummy was discovered by a team of British archaeologists led by Howard Carter on November 6, 1922, inside the Valley of the Kings near Luxor, Egypt. At the time of its discovery, the mummy was in surprisingly good condition, given how old it was. It was well preserved and complete. Unlike many other ancient Egyptian mummies, the mummy was first taken to Cairo University Medical School for examination. The first person to examine the mummy was Dr. S.A. Buckley, who noted that the skull showed signs of trauma, consistent with a blow from a blunt object. Dr. Buckley also noted that the bones were unusually brittle, and that the bones of the left side of the chest cavity were missing. This suggested that the body had been tampered with at some point in the past. In 1962, the mummy was examined again, this time by Dr. John Darras of Manchester University. Dr. Darras found that there were several abnormalities in the skeleton, including a deformed right foot, a fused neck vertebra, and a hole in the occipital ridge of the skull. He believed that these abnormalities were caused by congenital syphilis, which he said could explain the young king's early death. However, this theory has since been discounted as there is no way to diagnose congenital syphilis from skeletal remains alone. Instead, these abnormalities are more likely due to injuries sustained during Tutankhamun's lifetime. The next examination of Tutankhamun's mummy took place in 1974, this time under the direction of Dr. Rita E. Grant of the New York Hospital Medical Center. Dr. Grant and her team found that the skull had 2 distinct fractures, one at the parietal bone and another at the occipital ridge. They also found that the bones of the left side of the chest cavity were missing because they had been removed during the mummification process. Dr. Grant concluded that the young king had been killed by a blow to the head and that his chest bones were removed to make mummification easier. However, This theory was also later discounted as there is no way to determine the cause of death from skeletal remains alone. In recent years, new technologies have allowed scientists to take a closer look at the mummy. In 2005, a team of French scientists used a combination of X-rays and 3D imaging to create a virtual reconstruction of Tutankhamun's skull. They found that the two fractures were actually caused by a single blow to the head, and that the force of the blow had also fractured the bones of his left foot. This suggests that Tutankhamun may have been kicked in the head while lying on his left side. But unfortunately, this doesn't tell us anything about what killed him. In 2010, scientists used a high-resolution computed tomography scanner to take a detailed look at Tutankhamun's brain. They found that the young king had suffered from a number of health problems, including malaria, a bone disease called osteomyelitis, and a clubfoot. However, none of these conditions would have killed him. So finally, in 2022, scientists used advanced imaging techniques to scan the mummy, and what they found shocked them. According to The Guardian, researchers discovered a previously unknown stress fracture on the second metatarsal bone in the foot, a small bone located in the middle of the foot. It seems like the young king had broken his foot and it didn't heal properly. This would explain why he walked with a limp and why his foot was misshapen. But did it kill him? Well, unfortunately, it looks like it might have. Tutankhamun's health deteriorated after he broke his foot, and he became increasingly reliant on his advisors to help him rule the kingdom. After the discovery of this new injury, Dr. Mummy, who led the study, said that it helps to explain why the king was so dependent on his advisors, and may shed light on his sudden death, although the exact cause of death remains unknown. Experts believe that the bone infection may have spread to his bone marrow and blood, leading to sepsis and possibly a fatal embolism. Sepsis occurs when the body's response to infection causes damage to one or more organs. An embolism is a blockage in an artery or vein, usually caused by a blood clot or an air bubble. If an embolism occurs in the lungs or heart, it can be fatal. However, Dr. Mummy admits that this is still speculation, and more research is needed to confirm whether or not the bone infection spread to his blood and eventually killed him. Nevertheless, this new discovery gives us a better understanding of what may have caused the young king's untimely death. Tutankhamun was just 19 years old when he died. That's half the age of most leaders and rulers. He must have been full of life and had great plans for the future of Egypt. Unfortunately, we'll never know what those plans were as he was killed so young. What do you think about the various theories proposed by the doctors and scientists about the possible cause of the boy king's death? Do you think the newly discovered fractured bone in his foot killed him? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more amazing videos about insane medical conditions. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.